from the edge of the Great Red Divide, from the Blue Island in the middle of the country. This is the Heartland Mamas podcast, and I'm your host, Heidi Henry. The Heartland Mamas podcast can be found on all podcast platforms, YouTube, TikTok, probably part of the Demcast USA network, and doing a little bit on Facebook still. But find us on a podcast platform because that's really the best way. Like, subscribe, and share, please. So holy doom and gloom, Batman. I mean, seriously, the stuff I've heard from friends of mine, progressive and liberal friends of mine, lefties, if you will. I mean, the only other person I know that refers to us as lefties is Ben Jarofsky, and I prefer the phrase FDR Democrat because we need to discuss how Democrats win going forward. I mean, we really can't believe that moving to the center is a winning position. Good God. Do we really want to be a Clinton Obama Democrat? Or do we want to be an FDR, JFK, Carter, Johnson Democrat where you actually do things to advance the country? Do we really want to have health care that is just a big giant insurance plan? I mean, it's great that people like me with pre-existing conditions, I mean, now I have pre-existing conditions. I didn't when it went through, but now I'm just a mess of pre-existing conditions, like almost everyone. And we are teetering on the edge of losing our health care completely because the incoming president can't stand the fact that it's got the name Obama attached to it. Bad enough that it's a giant insurance program and it's consolidated our hospitals for the sake of profit and put our doctors into groups owned by huge conglomerates of investment capital. I mean, that's what it's brought us. But if you have asthma or you're a diabetic or polycystic kidney disease like my child, you are still able to get coverage. I don't know for how long. I mean, really, it's looking pretty bad here. And we could be like Clinton and have criminal justice reform, the 3 strikes and you're out rule, the apex predator rule, right? That effed up the lives of so many people that were not white like me, that were not white like most of you. And let's talk about welfare to work, shall we? The myth of the magical black woman rolling up to with her food stamps in her Mercedes to the grocery store. I don't even know how they concocted that. But that's what brought you welfare to work, when really it's mostly people of my color that collect welfare, if you will, Section 8 housing, Medicare, SNAP, nutrition assistance, all of those things mostly go to white people, not people of color, and certainly not people of color driving a Mercedes. It doesn't happen. But that brought us welfare to work. Now, I counseled women back in that time, women that had 4 or 5 kids at home whose drunk ass husband left them high and dry, and now they were living in housing because how else are they supposed to raise these kids? Because they're all alone and no one's paying their child support. But instead of punishing the other parent who's not providing, they punish the women because, God forbid, you should get ahead a little bit in this world if you're female. So they went ahead and had me counsel them back in the day on how to dress. Now, you can't tell by what I'm wearing today, but how to dress for an interview, how to perform in an interview, how to write your resume, how to hone your skills. I did that through the guise of the Salvation Army. Yes, I did work for them at one point, in a couple different capacities. But that's what I did, was I taught women how to put their kids in the care of another woman, usually, in a big group setting, and then take their ass to work so that they could get money to have a roof over their heads and food for their children. Now, most of them just worked for their child care. But they had to work for their child care costs so they could have food and a place to live. That is so fucked up. That is so fucked up. Let's give birth and then have a stranger raise our child and instill their value system and their way of doing things. I'm not advocating for trad wives. I'm not advocating for people to stay at home and forgo their career. But I'm just saying that forcing women to work for the cost of childcare was the most ridiculous thing that Clinton did. And he did a lot of ridiculous come to the center NAFTA shit that has driven our country into oblivion to where we are now. He continued the neoliberal views of Ronald Reagan and H.W. Bush all the way forward, completed their vision of a great society, and did away with Johnson's view of a great society. Now, Johnson had a lot of interference from Nixon to prolong the Vietnam War, and he was taking it on the chin and decided to step down and not run for re-election. But look at the things he did while he was in office. He brought us the civil rights movement. He made sure that they got signed into law. He made sure that we had Medicare and Medicaid for people who were poor. If we go back, another president, Democratic president, we come to FDR, who got our country out of the Great Depression by putting our people to work. They built roads and bridges and parks and sewer systems and amazing things through the WPA and the CCC. He put people to work, and he gave them unemployment insurance in case they lost their jobs so they weren't living out of their fucking car. And he made sure that we had what they were calling old age insurance, which is Social Security. Because before Social Security, when a person wasn't productive anymore, they went to the county farm. Now we call it the county nursing home. But back then, they'd put you on the farm. And you got a little bit of cornmeal mush a couple times a day, and you got to work doing whatever you could do until you died. In a rat-infested location, and almost every county had them. That is the shitty legacy that is being brought back to you by centrist Democrats and neoliberalism. And every time we put a centrist Democrat forward, we lose. Now, some will argue that Biden was a centrist Democrat, but I argue that he is not. That he is not. That he has done greater things that we probably won't realize fully for a decade, I'd say in about 14 years. Everything that he's done is going to all of a sudden blossom. We have right now an economy that is the envy of the world right now with very little hurt because wages have gone up. And do you know what happens when wages go up and the jobless rate drops? And miraculously, the crime rate drops. Oh my God. People are working. They're making enough money to support themselves, so they're not holding up a bank or robbing somebody. That's what happens when people go to work. When unemployment levels drop, the crime rate drops. We saw that during COVID when people weren't working, when people weren't going to school. The crime rate jumped because there's nothing for people to do. They weren't making enough money to survive, so they turned to crime. Now people are working. They're working good jobs. They're getting decent pay, especially here in Illinois, where we know how to pay people and we know how to value employees. But still, our centrist, Democratic National Committee is considering the likes of Rahm Emanuel to run our organization. In Illinois, I am too far to the left of our state party to ever get any support from them because I advocate for gun safety and I advocate for human rights and I advocate for people to be able to live their lives without complications from being judged by who they are. Because I advocate for civil rights, because I push hard for excellent education funding, public education funding, because I think that we need to push harder to ratify the ERA. And for some reason that makes me too far left, especially you that live in rural Illinois, because I do live rural, I live on a farm. You're too far left to get any help running for office because that's not a winning position out here. Let me tell you something. We're about to lose our 6th hospital system out here because of the fucking centrist Democrats that run this state. They don't care because most of the population lives in by the city, in by Chicago, in the collar counties, in the ring around the collar counties. That's where your population is. But in Grundy County, there's 1 hospital. In Kendall County, there's no hospitals. In LaSalle County, they're going to go down to 1 hospital pretty soon. And when you keep taking things away from people, you keep consolidating things further and further in. They don't care. The people down in Springfield don't care because it doesn't affect them. It affects us out here. But who are we? We vote red. No, we don't. But we're sick of being ignored. That's ignoring the middle, ignoring rural, ignoring lesser populated areas is a very centrist Democrat thing to do. We do not need a centrist Democrat in charge of the DNC. We need someone like Jasmine Crockett, somebody who can fire things up and get stuff done. We need a young, vibrant woman at the head of the helm. We've tried it with everything else. Let's try that. Let's try that because our positions lately have been losing ones. The thing is that I was not in favor of Joe Biden stepping down and not running again. As a person with a speech impediment, I so get it, how he struggles. I had to take 10 years of speech class when I was a kid, not speech class, but speech therapy when I was a kid. So every word I say, I have to think about where is my tongue, where are my teeth, where are my lips, and how are those words going to come out. And his speech impediment's profoundly worse, plus he's older than me. But instead of rationalizing that, people are like, oh my God, he's so old. Yes, you elected him 4 years ago. Of course he's old. We knew that going into this. And we also knew that as he's the transition president, transition did not mean 4 years. So instead, you gave us a vibrant, wonderful woman, Kamala Harris, and loaded on her the centrist Democrat hat by inviting a whole bunch of fucking Republicans to back her. Instead of having her come out swinging hard at Bibi Netanyahu, stepping into that pitch and knocking it out for the fences. Instead of doing that, you let her just go, I'm just going to do what Biden did. Well, yes, do what Biden did, but build on that. But no, the centrists said, let's invite Adam Kinzinger. God, I can't even believe I said that name. I hate that guy. He was my congressman for a long time, and he was the biggest absentee, do-nothing Trump sycophant that ever lived. And because he did one thing right in his entire life does not make him a hero, or Liz Cheney, for that matter. Because they would take away your right to control your own body, and they would take away your health care in a heartbeat. Those are the kind of people they were courting and trotting out at the Democratic National Convention in Chicago. Those people. Did we have one representative from Palestine come and speak? No. Did we have anybody from Ukraine come and speak? No. But we got to hear from both Adam and Liz and make them superheroes to the Democratic centrists. You didn't need the fucking centrists to win. You needed the rest of us. You needed young people to know that you care and that you see a future for them that isn't channeled through people my age and older. But that's what you gave them. And then you gave them Kamala, who is neither white, nor black, nor Indian, a highly educated woman of color because she's a combination of so many different things, like all of us. But you didn't let her speak. And you didn't let her be, and you didn't let her show you who she is. Now, I got to meet the woman a few times in my life. In fact, you'll see pictures floating around the internet of me and her together. I interviewed her in 2019 for my podcast, for this podcast. I was her guest at the Iowa Steak Fry in Des Moines in 2019. She's a wonderful person, but you had to fucking let her speak for herself, and the men and the centrists around her could not let her do that. So of course she lost. And of course she lost to that sycophant Trump, to that horrible, treasonous warthog. And now we get to deal with him 4 more years because we stepped to the fucking center again. Every step to the center is a step to the right. And we should not tolerate it, Democrats. We should not tolerate it. We know our identity is in progressive, forward thinking politics. It's not making women work for their welfare, for God's sake, Bill Clinton. It's not shipping our jobs overseas, Bill Clinton. It's not doing the stupid, horrible stuff that Reagan did that caused us to have people like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg. It is the policies that move the country forward in civil rights, in health care, Medicare, Medicaid, the civil rights movement, environmental rights is under Carter. Turn down the heat and put on a sweater. We do that in our house all the time. We need people put to work. That's what the Inflation Reduction Act did. That's what FDR did. And when it comes to history, FDR and Joe Biden will be talked about in the same breath. Those are the things we win on. We do not win in the center. We win when we stand on our positions and we stand tall and we stand strong and we do not back down. All of you centrists out there, stop it. Look around you. Every step to the center is a step to the right. Every step to the right is a step into Trump. And if that's what you want, then welcome to the country that you elected, that you helped elect, by not giving Kamala Harris the ability to express herself. And how dare the DNC? How dare they control her mouthpiece? You give her 90 days to make her case, and you don't let her do it. You don't let her be authentic to the person she is, to the upbringing she had, and to the vision that belongs to all of us. So from the Great Red Divide, the very edge, the blue island in the middle of the United States, this has been the Heartland Mamas podcast. I'm your host, Heidi Henry. Have a great day. Join your local Democratic Party and take it the fuck over. We can't be centrist any longer because we will never win another race until we find our platform, which is not in the center. It is to the left of the Republican Party. Take care now. Bye-bye.